Today we're going to be replacing a transfer box in a Land Rover Discovery 1. Alright, so a lot of people seem to joke about Land Rover's reliability all the time not being the best. I don't know too much about it, so I thought I'd get a Land Rover. Got a Discovery 1, and to be fair, it has been, it's never let me down, so it's reliable in that sense, but a lot of stuff has broken on it and it has creaked and groaned in a few places. And the biggest continuous problem that I've had is this situation where I'm travelling very slowly, got it in full lock, and it's making like a banging, groaning kind of noise. I thought I'd sussed it, and you can see on the earlier videos that the swivel joints were like a complete mess on this one. It had all the oil was seeping out, and there were even some nuts and bolts missing. So did all that, took me ages. I was quite excited to get it done, and then the first time out was enough to limp it round to get the world record attempt done at the billing show. So we were number 401. I think they got over 900 Land Rovers in convoy. That's what the record attempt was about, up from 600. So done that, still got this problem, so I can't really drive it around and go and do any laning or anything like that. And got a pending trip up in Wales coming up, so took it to a friend. He just drove it for about, just round in a circle, and you could see the wheel was actually locking up as it was going round, and he said, that's going to be your transfer case. And as soon as he said that, it's pretty obvious, right, because these transfer cases apparently have a situation where they kind of break and they'll stay locked, so you're permanently got diff lock on, and that means that when you're going to go around a corner slowly, then you're going to get all the twisting of the drive shafts. So that was clear in my mind that was actually what the problem was. So I've got my swivel joints all sorted out and everything in between, and now I need to get on with the transfer case. Alright, so I need to make a bit of a plan on how I'm going to tackle this. So I thought, given that all the forums that I read said that the Haynes manual is pretty useless, that I would start there. It seems to have a whole section on transfer box, and essentially removal says take out your whole gearbox with that attached on the back. So mine's an auto, so this is the removal bit, and it basically says, well, the following procedure is not difficult. Transmission assembly is removed complete with the transfer box, is heavy and awkward to handle. So basically, well, it's not hard, but it's just going to be a load of hassle, especially as I don't really have a pit or anything other than a trolley jack. So I kind of started reading through this, and I have made a bit of a start. So I've taken out the gear knobs, taken off the exhaust. In fact, I think that is all I've done so far. Yes, I've done those two bits. So whilst it does say to take the gearbox off and the transfer box at the same time, and a few other people have said that, there's also a bunch of people that just say just take the case off. So it seems to me the easiest thing to do is just try and take the case off, and if I can't do that for some reason, then I'll revert back to what it says in here. But the quickest thing to me just seems to be take that out if I can. So here goes. Alright, so the Range Rover, the Discovery, Defenders all basically share the same running gear with a different body on top. But one difference is that the ratios of the gears are different in the transfer cases. So there's a bit of a question in my mind whether I should just take my transfer case out and then re-gear it with the Defender gears, which I think's well, I don't know the details, but it's something like this is 1 in 2, and then it's 1 in 4 on the Range Rover, and then 1 in 6 on the Defender. So I could get mine out, buy the gears and fix it all up again. But that is quite a lot of work, and I managed to get this box for £50. So I thought, well, that's the easiest thing to do, is just get another one and just replace it and not mess about. So you can see, how's this going to be? This is the front of the car here, that's the back of the car. This will sit like that. So you can see you've got the back of the gearbox sits here, and the input shaft, the output shaft of the gearbox goes into in here, differential, and then you've got out to the back drive shaft and to the front drive shaft. And quite interestingly, actually, there's a space on the back here for a power takeoff. So I don't know what applications people have used for that, but certainly has the situation that you can use it. Anyway, so there's my replacement box. It's a bit dark in here, but hopefully you can see what's going on. I've removed this centre console, which I've just shoved in the back there for now, and then drilled out some pot rivets, which removes like an access plate here, which is still attached to the gear selector. So that gives you then access to the top of the transfer box. So that's pretty much all I've done in here for now. Hopefully that will give me enough access and I won't have to remove this bit as well. But we shall see. So the other thing I've done, which you don't really need to see because it's done, but I've taken off the downpipes on both sides, so the exhaust is now sitting on the floor. Although that having been said, it was a right flaff and I had to take off the anti-roll bar on both sides just to get this down. But that is off. I've had the what's it called, gas, LPG gas on it in its life, and then they've taken it off at some point, so I've got this interesting join here on this sensor. Same on the other side. I might get that fixed up at some point, we shall see. Anyway, exhaust is done, got the car ready, in the inside stripped out, the exhaust is off, so the next thing to do now is take the front and rear drive shafts off. But because the box is locked, I can't just lift. I need to spin the shafts to get to the top and the bottom nuts as I go. I don't want to be moving the car back and forth, so what I'm going to do is just jack up both sides, so it should allow me to then actually rotate the wheels even though it's locked. So that's what I'm going to do next. Alright, I've been here before just recently, so this one here shouldn't be too tight at the front. I think I'm just going to undo these ones and leave those ones, because the whole thing's going to go that way anyway. Because once you undo this nut and bolt, you can't actually take it out because of this lip here, but I don't need to, because if it's loose then it's all going to go that way. But on this side, past the gearbox, past the handbrake, got to do those ones and those at the back, so best get on with it. say these were tight is an understatement, so in the end I just stuck a load of WD-40 over them, left it overnight, and then that kind of helped the situation. So next task, after getting the rear prop shaft out, is taking the handbrake assembly apart. This is pretty straightforward, although this screw was unbelievably stripped, all things considered.
Well, I suppose I am quite funny.
Well, I am quite funny.
You. It's like it's getting funnier as well.
Look, this is what it looks like on the moon. That is what I look like underneath.
The oil basically can't actually come out because there's too much junk at the bottom of this.
So just to give you an idea of how much junk there is, this is the drain plug. Alright, so pretty much home and dry, got all of the bolts, the nuts loosened around the case. Thinking about starting to try and pull it back and drop it down, and it quickly became apparent that the mount, just got to take one mount off this offside, and it's clear that you cannot just jack up the transfer case and kind of pop it out. What I ended up doing is just taking off the whole mount off the chassis. There's only 3 nuts and bolts, and actually, to be fair, they came off pretty easily. Just another job. So after finally removing all of the mounts, undoing all the bolts, it finally came time to just, well, basically what I did is just kick it off. And literally, as it gets to the money shot, the transfer case landed on some cardboard and pushed the camera away. So there you go, just turned it back around. There it is on the floor. Alright, so finally got the transfer case out. Weirdly, the one that's broken actually looks better than the one that's going in, but a bit of a clean up and that'll be alright. So it's got a couple of bits to do before this one's ready to go in, chiefly putting on the mount. Got to get these studs moved over, and I've got another seal just to go in there. Whilst it's out, I might as well replace it because really don't want to be doing this again. So here we go. No. There we go. Right, so weirdly this the selector for high-low, I guess that is it? High-low or lock, whichever one of the two controls it is, has been taken off, so I'm going to have to kind of peel for the bits off this one and just clean this up a little bit as I go. Try not to drop too much in there. Seems smooth enough. Right, that's weird, this old one, it's just spinning. So, good job of check basically. Fit it all back together and then that's just flapping around. That would have been right annoying. Right, next. Alright, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a wash just so these contacts at least can fit, etc, etc. Now it's time to get it back in the car. Alright, so this was always going to be the most grievous bit, only having really a trolley jack to put the box back in place. But I got my mate to come round, and essentially, you know, we lifted it up a little bit between us, got the jack underneath, and once we got into that situation, it really was just a case of manhandling it round, jacking it up slowly but surely. So it didn't take all that long, did it all up, started to try and put the wiring loom back together. Well, not a wiring loom, but you do have the speedo cable that goes here. There's a little plastic bit that wasn't in the new transfer case that I had to take off the old one. That's just one bolt, and then that all went together. I also realised at this point that the V8s have got a temperature sender on the transfer case, and this transfer case didn't have that. Not a problem, I just set the cable, just tie right up to the side, and then I'll try not to drive around the Sahara. Anyway, next thing now, bottom's pretty much back together, so I've got to turn my attention to putting the interior all back. In my excitement, I actually managed to take off all these tie wraps around the around the cables, which didn't actually need doing in hindsight, so sticking them back. And then once that's done, got on with pot riveting back the inspection panel where the gear selector sits. Alright, so I got the centre console back in, and I suddenly remembered I've got this weird kind of carpet situation in this car. I don't know what's happened in the past, and it's clearly not how the carpet's meant to go, but I've got this extra random stage just for me to get this carpet in. You can see it's just cut up with a Stanley knife or something, and then plonked in place.
has to be said, putting the gear knob back on, it feels like one of those milestones.
Okay, so everything is back together now. I do still need to put some oil into the case, but apart from that, it really is done. So put some oil in, see if it does actually work. But overall, I don't know. On reflection, I think it is easier just to do the transfer case and not take all the gearbox out as well, because the gearbox has got loads of linkages, loads of nuts and all sorts of things that you've got to undo, whereas the transfer case is only bolted on in a few places, and if you take all the inside out to get to it from the top, there's really nothing that's particularly hard to get to. The only thing is, obviously, is you need to kind of manhandle the thing back in place afterwards, but as you saw with somebody else and a jack, you know, it wasn't no thing. So right, let's get some oil in and see if I can actually go to Wales tomorrow.
Right, I've just noticed that even when this was dry before putting the oil in, that it actually had a leak. So not the most ideal start. It's a bit hard to see, but one of the nuts, one of the bolts up there, was actually undone for some reason, so I've done it up, sorted the drain plug out, filled it with oil, dried it off, so I'll just have to kind of monitor that and worry about it as we go, I suppose. Alright, let's see if it'll move.